Make sure y'all stay on point with
The Puncher's Point. What is good, y'all? Welcome back to The Puncher's Point. We got the WBC and the WBO Junior Middleweight Championships on the line. We got Sebastian Fundora versus Chordale Booker. And let me tell you something. This is a pretty interesting matchup, okay? Obviously, we've been doing a lot of prediction episodes, but this one's one of the most interesting prediction episodes, and we're going to get to it. This is going to be taking place on March 22nd in the Michelob Ultra Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, Sebastian Fundora, let's start off with him. 21-1, 13 knockouts. The only loss he ever took was to Brian Mendoza. It was a knockout loss, but regardless, he bounced back from that. He recently defeated Tim Tszyu to become the WBC and the WBO champion. So let's touch up on that a little bit. Let's start with Fundora. First of all, Fundora's got a very, very long reach. This is the tallest, lightest fighter I think I've ever seen. I mean, the guy is like 150 something pounds, but he is a tall guy. I mean, they don't call him the Towering Inferno for nothing. This guy is super lengthy, super tall, and I do believe that his reach is what stands out above all of the other junior middleweights in boxing right now. He's got a good right straight, and he's got a good left uppercut. He's sneaky to the body and he likes the pressure inside. Now let me cover all that for a little bit. First of all, I will his right straight is super dangerous. His left uppercut is super dangerous. But the one thing about Sebastian Fundora is Sebastian Fundora, for a guy as lengthy as he is with such a big reach, you would think he likes fighting on the outside, but he doesn't. He loves fighting on the inside. And what he does is he'll attack that body on the inside and he'll basically use the inside to land that uppercut. And that's a hard uppercut to guard. Honestly, it is a hard uppercut to guard. He had moments of success against Brian Fundora where he would use that uppercut, where he would attack him to the body, where he would start pressuring him on the inside. But Brian Mendoza landed a very good shot on Fundora and then he knocked him out. But before that, I thought Fundora was doing a great job. You know, you can make an argument that if it wasn't for that knockout, he'd be undefeated right now. But obviously, he's not. Now, as far as the weaknesses with Sebastian Fundora, he's kind of flat-footed. I mean, there's times where he shows decent footwork, but he is flat-footed in a way. He has that awkward style. I think that's also a big part of it as well. You know, I wouldn't call him a polished fighter, so to say, but overall, I would say those are the two biggest weaknesses for him. He keeps his head open and he keeps it on the line. And that to me is also a huge weakness for him too. He's constantly keeping his head on the line. He's not moving his head. He's not weaving or doing any of that type of stuff usually. He usually just keeps his head right in the middle of that line, and it's an easy target for a lot of opponents to hit. Um, Tim Tszyu, even with the cut on his head from that last fight, even then, Tim Tszyu was finding success, you know, attacking him up top. The other thing about him is fighters do sneak in the inside. They do sneak around that guard. He's got to be careful for that. He's got to be careful for shorter fighters like Chordale Booker who can sneak onto the inside, who can attack him on the inside. And overall, what I will say about Sebastian Fundora is despite the elbow to Tim Tszyu's head, Sebastian Fundora did what he was supposed to do. In our last prediction episode, when we were doing the predictions for Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora, the last time we covered Sebastian Fundora, we said that he doesn't really use his jab a lot. But after that cut got sustained, Sebastian Fundora was using that jab a lot, and that jab was definitely leading him to a lot of success. That jab was frustrating Tim Tszyu, and I believe that's what Fundora needs to do in this fight as well. He needs to keep attacking that jab. I want to see Fundora fight more on the outside. He looked really good in the Tim Tszyu fight, despite that elbow. He looked really good. Um, but what I will say about Sebastian Fundora is Sebastian Fundora is going to go in there and he's going to give you a fight. It doesn't matter who it is, he's going to give you a fight. That reach is going to be a struggle on any opponent that he faces. But at the same time, when he gets into the inside, he is a dangerous opponent. And I do believe that Sebastian Fundora has a lot of tools. I believe Sebastian Fundora is a very underrated fighter. But it's all a matter of is he going to put those tools together? And we're going to have to see. Now let's go to Chordale Booker. Chordale Booker, 23-1 with 11 knockouts. He has one knockout loss to Austin Ammo Williams in the first round. But ever since that loss, it seems like he's bounced back. He's improved on that. So let's touch up on it. For Booker, I would say he stays in the pocket. He's very good at staying into the pocket. If you notice, if you go and look at some of Booker's fights, he'll stand there and he'll just weave a lot of these attacks that a lot of guys are giving. He won't like back up, he won't kind of like try to use footwork. He'll stand right there and he'll weave some of these attacks. And I think that's a very impressive skill. It's hard for a fighter to stand in one place and to dodge and sneak all these attacks. He's a good counterpuncher. That's what I will say. He's got a good counter left. That left hand to me is his biggest strength. And I believe if he does connect on that left hand with Sebastian Fundora, he has a chance to knock him out. some more strengths about Booker. He has a looping left hook that I think he really likes using. He's got good head movement, and at the same time, he's got quick feet. Now, in the Austin Williams fight, Austin Williams was backing him up, and he wasn't using his footwork the way that a lot of people would have liked to see. He was kind of backing up. Then once Austin Williams got him up against his ropes, he was kind of a sitting duck. But in a lot of Booker's fights, especially after that loss, whenever he's dodging opponents, he's either staying in the same spot and he's weaving and he's slipping out the way, or he's using his footwork to get around them. He's using his footwork to kind of get out of harm's way. And overall, I do think he's got some good defense that could definitely struggle Sebastian Fundora. Now, what are the weaknesses with Chordale Booker that I mentioned? Well, obviously, when Austin Williams got him up against the ropes, he was really pressuring him. I will say he relies too much on his defense, and sometimes I don't think he kind of translates that to offense. It's kind of like the Shakur problem. He has great defense, but sometimes I just don't feel like it correlates to offense or it correlates to dominant offense. What I also will say about Cordero Booker is he tends to rely on flight over fight. And in certain fights, especially against guys like Sebastian Fundora, who are tenacious, who are relentless, who are going to pressure you for all 12 rounds, you have to rely on fight. And in my opinion, Booker's going to have to bring the fight to Sebastian Fundora. Now, we saw it in the Tank Davis and Lamont Roach fight. Lamont Roach was a guy who really wasn't known for his offense. But when he went up there against Tank, he proved that he could put up a great offensive outing. So Cordell Booker has to do the same thing with Sebastian Fundora. So what are the keys for both of these guys winning this fight? Well, if you ask me, the keys for both of them winning this fight, let me start off with Sebastian Fundora. For Sebastian Fundora, I believe he's going to have to take away the left. He's going to have to take away Cordero Booker's left. If he can do that, I believe you took away his biggest strength and you can work from there. I also believe that he's going to have to control the range with his jab. I don't want to see the old Sebastian Fundora that just wants to go into the inside and attack. I want to see this new Sebastian Fundora. I want to see him use his jab and frustrate Cordell Booker. I want to see him use his jab to get onto the inside, to set up some shots that he could beat Cordell Booker with or knock him out. And then last but not least, you land a left uppercut on him when he comes forward. See, Cordell Booker, when he comes forward, he kind of tends to duck his head a little bit. If Sebastian Fundora can land that left uppercut, I can honestly see him knocking out Cordell Booker. So I do believe that there are attacks that Sebastian Fundora can use and there's setups that he can use to defeat Cordell Booker. And that's what I would like to see in this fight. Now, as far as Booker, what does Booker have to do? Well, the first thing Booker would have to do is use your feints and start low to the target and work your way up to the chin. If you can use your feints to kind of get Sebastian Fundora a little bit uncomfortable, to get him kind of breaking his guard, to get him kind of fighting awkward, I believe Cordell Booker could land an upset knockout on Sebastian Fundora. The other thing he can do is he can use his footwork to confuse him. So I like Cordell Booker when he's staying still in the pocket and he's weaving attacks, but also I would like to see him use his footwork a lot more in this fight. I want to see him test Sebastian Fundora's quickness and speed. And I believe if he can do that, if he can, because in my opinion, if I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of people might disagree with this, but I think Cordell Booker's got quicker feet and better footwork than Sebastian Fundora when he uses it. So, in my opinion, if Cordell Booker can use that footwork, not back himself up against the ropes and be on flight instead of fight mode, but if he can basically use his footwork to get around Sebastian Fundora, to get into the inside of Sebastian Fundora, I believe he can use some attacks, and I believe he can make it just a great fight. And then last but not least, target the body. Sebastian Fundora, whenever he fights, his body is wide open for the taking. If Cordell Booker can go in there and he can go in there and attack the body, and he could basically just keep on attacking Sebastian Fundora's body, force him to open up. I do believe that Cordell Booker could have a lot of success in this fight. So overall, if you ask me, I could see this fight winning one way or the other. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if Cordell Booker won. It wouldn't shock me if Sebastian Fundora won. But either way, I'm gonna say this fight's gonna end in a knockout. Now, as y'all can see, I'm in different clothes than I've been throughout the whole episode. And the reason why is because this is going to be recorded, this part at least, a day or two later because your boy was dumb and decided to stop the recording instead of resuming it. But with that being said, enough of my stupidity. Let's get straight into the betting odds. Sebastian Fundora is a minus 1450 favorite, while Cordell Booker is a plus 740 underdog. Now, the most likely outcome that the odds according to FanDuel Sportsbook, the most likely outcome that they have is Sebastian Fundora by TKO or KO at minus 210. And the least likely, besides a draw, would be Chordale Booker by decision at plus 1800. So now the question relies, is it worth to bet on this fight? And I'm going to be honest, the answer I got is no. Look, I can see Chordale Booker going in there and knocking out Fundora, but I can see not Fundora knocking him out even more. The favorable outcome, that's what I would go by. I got Sebastian Fundora by seventh round KO. I think Chordale Booker will have some moments. I think he might win around maybe a couple, but I think come the seventh round, I think Sebastian Fundora is just going to put that pressure on him. He's going to back him up against those ropes, and you're going to see a finish very similar to the one that Austin Williams gave to Chordale Booker, except the only difference is I believe Chordale Booker is going to put up a bigger fight. Now, like I said, I could also see Chordale Booker knocking out Sebastian Fundora. If that happened, I would not be shocked. Okay, because I do believe that Chordale Booker has the tools to upset Sebastian Fundora. But as of right now, Sebastian Fundora, there is too much on the line for him after what happened with Tim Tszyu and that whole fight with the cut on Tim Tszyu's head, a lot of people aren't looking at Sebastian Fundora as a threat, considering the fact that he holds the WBC and the WBO Junior Middleweight Championship. Not many people are looking at him as a threat. They're overlooking at him. They're looking at guys like Terrence Crawford, Virgil Ortiz, Bakar Murtazaliev, some people even Charlo. But the truth is, after the whole fight with Tim Tszyu and the whole fallout with Errol Spence Jr. and that fight going on, after all of that fell through, Sebastian Fundora, he needs a win. He needs a dominant win. And I believe he's going to go in there against Chordale Booker and he's going to get a good dominant win. And people are going to actually start giving Sebastian Fundora his respect. Now, y'all would already know what's going to happen after this. There's going to be some people that are going to say, "Oh, Chordale Booker's a nobody," and this doesn't prove anything from Sebastian Fundora. But first of all, there's two things. Chordale Booker is a decent fighter. That's number one. And number two, Sebastian Fundora, if he goes in there and he has a dominant performance over Chordale Booker, he did what he was supposed to do, which means y'all should start putting a little bit more respect on his name. I'm not saying you have to look at him as the number one junior middleweight, which technically, if we're looking at belts, he's the number one junior middleweight. But I will say you got to look at Sebastian Fundora in a different way. You have to start looking at him as one of those threats in that junior middleweight division because it is stacked. This is a stacked division. And overall, I do think Sebastian Fundora needs this win more than Chordale Booker. And I think that if he goes in there, has a dominant performance and he basically gets people forgetting about the whole Tim Tszyu fight, I think that Sebastian Fundora can make some of those big fights happen with guys like Terrence Crawford, Virgil Ortiz, maybe Israel Madrimov, Bakar Murtazaliev, maybe Errol Spence Jr., who knows? Most likely not, but overall, Sebastian Fundora, if he gets a good win against Chordale Booker, I believe a lot of things are going to open up for him. That's why Sebastian Fundora needs this win. Does Chordale Booker need this win? Absolutely. Obviously, after this fight, you're not going to get many chances left. But I will say, in this case, they're looking at Chordale Booker as a tune-up fight. They're not looking at him as a threat. They're looking at him as a tune-up fight. Chordale Booker, when you mention the best junior middleweights, he's not on everybody's mind. He's a good fighter, don't get me wrong, but he's not in everybody's mind. They don't put him on the level of those guys that I mentioned before. So, Chordale Booker, if he goes in there and he has a decent, he doesn't have to win. If he just goes in there and has a good, decent performance against Sebastian Fundora, Chordale Booker will start becoming a name. But, here's the but. Here's the big but. No pun intended. Hey, yo, pause. Here it is. Chordale goes in there and he has a great performance. He's going to get some good matchups of his own. Now, if he goes in there and he beats Sebastian Fundora, then we're looking at a whole different topic right here. Then we're looking at a whole different discussion. Now, all of a sudden, Sebastian Fundora, he goes back to being a B-level fighter. Chordale Booker, he kind of slips into Sebastian Fundora's spot, and all of a sudden, you have a new champion. And mark my words, if Chordale Booker wins this fight, watch how many of these fighters are going to ask for a fight against him because they think he's the weakling. Remember what happened with Kambosos and Teofimo Lopez? Kambosos went in there, defeated Teofimo. Everybody wanted to fight with Kambosos. Everybody was lining up. Then when he got the fight, he beat Kambosos, became undisputed. That is what a lot of fighters are going to expect once they go in there and they fight Chordale Booker, if Chordale Booker wins. But overall, what's on the line for these guys? Sebastian Fundora has to prove that he is a threat in that junior middleweight division. He has to prove that the fight against Tim Tszyu was not a fluke. And for Chordale Booker has been on a nice little streak, a nice little run since that loss against Austin Williams. He has to prove that he can go in there against the best and he can put up a great fight with the best. That is what these two have to prove on the line. So overall, I think it's going to be a good fight in the Michelob Ultra Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. And again, it's for the WBC and the WBO championship. So overall, this is an important fight in the junior middleweight division. And I just can't wait to see what happens. Honestly, obviously the odds are heavily in favor of Sebastian Fundora, but anything can happen in the sport of boxing. I mean, we saw Lamont Roach and Tank Davis go at it. And Lamont Roach, we saw him give Tank his best fight yet and almost win that fight. So anything can happen in the sport of boxing. But overall, this is an important fight in boxing. I think it's going to be a fun fight, honestly. I think it's going to be a fun fight for a lot of fans to watch. Obviously, they're going to be competing with Sky Nicholson and Caroline Dubois. We didn't cover that topic, and again, it's just we didn't get to it. But overall, it's going to be a good. It's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a good fight. I'm absolutely excited to see it, and I hope that everybody looks at this fight and they realize that it's going to be a good night for PBC. So I'm excited. But with that being said, this fight is going to be taking place on March 22nd, Michelob Ultra Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada, for the WBC and the WBO Junior Middleweight Championships. And with that being said, make sure y'all continue to tune into the podcast, the YouTube, social media, um, just overall anything with the Puncher's Point. Make sure y'all keep on tuning into the Puncher's Point. And last but not least, make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.